Hello, welcome to the second in our Meet the Team video series where we quiz a member of the team and find out a bit more about their job and what makes the museum tick. What is your name and job title? My name is Joe Perry and I'm the Curator of Local History at the Potteries Museum Art Gallery. What are local history collections and what do you do as a curator? So our local history collection comprises of archaeology and social history. So the archaeology collections are mainly the results of archaeological excavations, but also chance finds and metal detected finds. We work very closely with the Portable Antiquities scheme to acquire various items of treasure, such as the Staffordshire Hoard and Leakcliff Talks. The social history side of our collections really looks at the domestic and working lives of people in the potteries, particularly from the 19th century onwards, although we do have one or two objects which are a little bit older. As a curator, my job really is to look after our collections, is to help develop and grow them, and it's also to help give people access to those collections. So, exhibitions, research requests, getting things online, using social media, and doing things like this really. Anything to bring our collections out and connect them with the people who are interested in them or who want to use them in some way, or anyone for whom, interaction with our collections can enrich their lives in some way. How long have you worked at the museum? I've been in my current role since August 2008, but I've been working for Stoke-on-Trent Museums on and off for just under 10 years. What's your favourite thing about working here? For me, the best part of my job is being so close to so many incredible objects and getting the chance to share those objects and their stories with a really, really diverse audience. And the other thing I really enjoy about my job is the diversity of the collections. I look after everything from hand axes, which are 200, maybe even 300,000 years old, through to items which were made only a few years ago. So there's a huge range in there, very, very challenging, and of course you can't know it all. It's such a huge array of time periods that I'm learning every day, and that's something I really enjoy as well. What's your favourite museum object? It's always a really difficult question to answer, and I don't want to sound like a cop-out, but I honestly don't have an individual favourite object. I do have quite a soft spot for a broken Bronze Age sword in our archaeological gallery with a really interesting story, so you can check out our blog to find out more about that. And now for some questions from you guys that you sent in on social media. Joanne on Facebook asks, have we learnt anything from the Staffordshire Hoard that we didn't know previously about the Anglo-Saxons? Does it have any unique features? The Staffordshire Hoard has two unique features. Its size, it is the largest hoard of Anglo-Saxon gold and silver ever discovered, and also its character. It is unique in that it's almost entirely comprised of precious fittings from war gear. Sword pommels and other fittings from sword hilts, pieces of at least one really, really high status helmet. And this is very, very unusual to find a hoard of just that character buried together in the ground. Nothing like it's ever been found. It clearly has a very, very unique, special story behind it. Unfortunately, we don't know what that story is. In terms of learning new things, obviously I think we've learned a lot about how the Anglo-Saxons are making some of these incredibly detailed objects. What's great about the hoard is it is damaged. It's been very violently taken apart, and how some of these objects have been dismantled. And so we can actually see how some of these nice gold pommel caps are made, and we know maybe a little bit more about the manufacture than we did before. And things like the projects to build replica helmets have been a really interesting bit of experimental archaeology to try and relearn some of the skills of those Anglo-Saxon smiths and craftspeople. Tina asks, what words did Anglo-Saxons use which have now died out? That's a really interesting question. It's not an area I have a great deal of expertise in, but there is one Old English word I do really like. It's a really fun word to say, and that is frumbirdling. Frumbirdling means a young boy who's growing his first beard. Gary asks, will you be able to look into the cockpit of the Spitfire? The short answer, Gary, is yes, you will. We're going to be building a mezzanine level inside the new Spitfire gallery, so either by going up there or via the steps or the lift, you can then look down into the cockpit of the Spitfire, which will be kitted out fully, either with real or replica parts, for the first time ever since it was donated to the city in 1972. Charlotte asks, how big is the Spitfire and how does this compare to modern planes? So I think in general fighter planes have grown a little bit. So to give you an example of that, Spitfires are just over 9 metres long and typically just over 11 metres in terms of their wingspan. Our Spitfire has got slightly shorter wingspan because it has clipped wings, which is quite common for some late war Spitfires. So our wingspan on our Spitfire is about more like just under 10 metres. And similarly with the height, so on a Spitfire when it's on the floor, the end of the propeller is the highest point, and depending on the size of the propeller, depending on what type of Spitfire it is, it's between 3 and 3.5 metres tall. If you compare that to modern RAF Typhoons, they have a wingspan of about 11 metres but a length of 16, and I think they're over 5 metres high. So I think fighter planes have grown a little bit since the Second World War. Julie asks, when the Spitfire returns, will there be information on other planes designed by Reginald Mitchell in the gallery? Yes, there will, Julie. So for anyone who's watching and doesn't know, between 1920 and 1936, Mitchell designed no less than 24 aircraft. So it wasn't just all about the Spitfire. And in fact, in his lifetime, because he died early, aged only 42 in 1937, in his lifetime, Mitchell was really known for his designs of racing seaplanes, which have been very, very successful. Now, our collections don't have a lot of objects to do with Mitchell's earlier parts of his career, so we're thinking of all kind of interesting ways we can use animations and interactives to try and bring that story to life. Pheasant's Agenda asks, what's the most locally and culturally significant piece in the collections you manage? That's a difficult question to answer. I guess it could be very, very subjective, though I would say if you're thinking specifically about local significance in the potteries, I'd have to suggest something like thousands and thousands of archaeological ceramics we have in the collection, the sherds of pottery excavated from factory sites and waste tips. These are all really, really key sites which have helped us understand the development of the Staffordshire potteries from what was a cottage industry to a world centre for ceramics. So that's it for our second Meet the Team video. I hope that's been interesting. If you have any further questions or comments on what we've discussed in this video or other parts of the collections, do get in touch in the comments section or through other social media channels. I'll be happy to answer your questions, and I look forward to the next video where we'll be interviewing our Curator of Ceramics, Miranda Goodby.